Hey everyone, I'm the Chosen One Legend here, with my co-host, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kye, also known as Fascurreyn.
And welcome to our channel, BunchaJokahs, where we're doing a special discussion here because Nintendo seem to have a habit of randomly revealing things nowadays, and this includes a new Hyrule Warriors game, which I
Yeah.
did not have the name of. I should have had that ready in advance.
Age of Calamity.
Age of Calamity, thank you, Kai, you've got my back.
It's crazy.
I knew I
that
kept you
they
around
keep-
for something.
Yeah, it's mental that they keep like randomly dropping things like this rather than doing it in a direct. I'm not really sure what directs hold for the future in this case, but regardless, this is hype. This is so
Yeah,
hype.
I mean, I guess they're sort of the idea is that they're not entirely sure when things are releasing, so I guess they're playing it a bit closer to their chest and saying, okay, now we know this is coming out in a few weeks or a few months even, we can reveal it now. But it's an interesting way of doing things, and
Not necessarily a bad idea.
no, and it's great because we were all sort of expecting a quieter end of the year, I think, but now we've got Mario and we've got Pikmin and we've got Zelda.
No complaints here.
Exactly, yeah. And like you said, we're just going to go over initial impressions. What were your thoughts watching this trailer?
I was really excited. So, to preface this, like, I've never played a Warriors game before. I kind of know what they're about, but so I have seen like gameplay and that sort of thing in the past, but I've never played one myself before. So I'm really excited to try one for the first time because I'm of course buying this. The story looks really exciting to be taking place 100 years prior, but we'll talk about that a bit more in a bit. The gameplay looks sleek, the graphics look clean, the whole thing just looks really well made, so I'm really excited for it. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, so you say you didn't play the original Hyrule Warriors then?
I did not.
No, well, I had that back on the Wii U. Sadly, I haven't managed to get the new stuff on Switch yet, but and it was my first Warriors game, and man, it's just so much fun. It's
Yeah.
You just go crazy, really. It's very different to the typical Zelda gameplay, of course, where you're just you're being thoughtful about things. You're using, maybe attacking from a distance. Here, you just go all in, just destroy hundreds and thousands of enemies, and go. It's cathartic. I'll give you that. It's
Yeah, an absolute just like horde battle.
exactly, yeah. And the first Hyrule Warriors was very much a sort of love letter to the full series. It was bringing in bits and pieces from the iconic games, showing you different locations, and it was almost like a fan fiction in a good way. It was like
I see what you mean. It did seem to have a bunch of characters just from random Zelda games across all the timelines and whatever, and they all just went into this one game.
Yeah.
It seemed like satisfying for Zelda fans.
Yeah, and it creates a really good opportunity that a canon game wouldn't be able to do. So I appreciate it for what it was, but seeing this as like a full part of the Breath of the Wild lore and story, that's got me hyped in a way that the original couldn't even match. It's just
Of course,
because I love Breath of the Wild, and I've always wanted to see more about what happened in the Calamity, and this is such a perfect fit. I'm surprised no one's thought of it before, really, to mention it because
Yeah, it's a
perfect.
really good idea, of course.
So let's get things straight off with the story. Let's talk a little bit about that. So of course, this is set in the Great Calamity, 100 years before the events of Breath of the Wild, which we've only seen in a few little cutscenes, but we never really explored that much or got to play ourselves. So the fact we're going to get this experience to be able to play out these actual war zones for ourselves. What a splendid idea.
Yeah, I remember for the DLC when that was announced, people were really looking forward to maybe, maybe we can play a flashback from 100 years ago. Maybe we can play as the champions and, see a bit more about what happened. And I guess we're getting it now. It may not be like a form of DLC, but I'd argue this is better to make it a fully fledged game because the more lore we can get from that time zone, the better.
Absolutely, and it's funny that you're saying DLC because talking about the DLC because what this reminds me of very much is Torna.
I was gonna
This
say,
is basically
it
yeah.
is.
This is Breath of the Wild's Torna. It's an event that was heard about in the main game that happened, a long time before the events of the main game. There's some familiar characters there, and it's something is not going to end well.
Yeah, we know what the ending's going to be.
Yeah.
We see parts of the story already through references from the main game. But, being able to fully play this out with new characters and, hopefully new music and all that kind of thing, it's going to be
yes.
so much fun.
Yeah, because the thing is, playing this game, it's going to be interesting seeing, being able to experience this in a different way to how you would have in the main Zelda game, because it's really going to feel like an actual battle. It's going to make the stakes feel probably higher than they ever have before. And whereas Warriors games typically aren't, they're not story games so much. Like Hyrule Warriors, it had a decent enough story to link these characters together, and it was done in a really fun way, but it's not like a massively compelling story. Whereas this, I think they very intentionally showed off that emotional scene with Zelda at the end to say, yeah, we are fitting with the Zelda lore, and we are making this a proper story to some extent at least.
Of course,
I don't think you're just going to be smashing without, recklessly, without any meaning to it.
Yeah, and I believe in the version of the trailer where there was like talk before and after about the game, they did say that the Warriors team was working very closely with Breath of the Wild's team to make sure that all of this was accurate, meaning we know that this stuff is canon. It is, going to be stuff that we know about. There's going to be references, new information. It's all going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we saw all the champions. The only one we've heard so far is Zelda, who it seems like it's the original voice actress, but, nothing's been officially confirmed yet. We'll see how that plays out. But either way, it's the fact that they're going to explore these characters more, because really, the champions were really great in the main game, but you never saw too much of them because, of course, they were dead.
We always wanted more from them. Yeah.
And it was that's one thing I did think that the DLC did quite well, was showing us a little bit more of the personalities of these champions and what they used to be like. And obviously, this is going to go even further into that. So
I think one big part of that is also cutscenes. We saw very small snippets in parts. The one I remember most distinctly is the one with Rivali going through like the smoke or whatever it was.
Yeah, fighting Link, it looks like.
Yeah, there's some sort of conflict going on there. And that'll be really interesting to see, like all of the cutscenes, because that will help to flesh out these champions even more. Maybe some in parts giving reference to their diaries from the Champions Ballad DLC, because that was I believe around the similar time of when the Calamity awoke. So.
Yeah, definitely. It was when I believe that was when she was recruiting the champions essentially. So it would have been around that time. Yeah, all in the same sort of time frame. So just seeing that expanded upon more, definitely. And whilst you did mention that how they worked closely with the team of the original Breath of the Wild development team. And one thing, like you said, that shows really well in the visuals. And this game looks like if it weren't for the hordes of enemies, this could be Breath of the Wild.
Straight up, it was so accurate in a lot of ways. It really did seem to fit in with how the graphics, like the style they had with the shading. It was great. Definitely.
All the cutscenes again look like they come straight from the game. It's very much, it's not its own separate thing. It is part of this world, and they're going all in with that. And one thing I also want to mention there is we heard a bit of the music, and for start, it sounds amazing.
Yes, a big agreement there.
Phenomenal. Now, I do want to mention it does sound, whereas Hyrule Warriors. For its soundtrack, it went for like these sort of, I guess, rock sort of remixes of classic Zelda tunes. Whereas this one sounds a little bit different. It sounds almost a bit more traditional Zelda music, which isn't a bad thing, but...
Yeah, I'm interested to see where they go with that. I mean, it could just be that's like, one of the main themes, and then they branch out to do more stuff akin to what they've done in the past. But I'm cool with anything. I trust that they're going to make some good quality music, so it's
absolutely.
Good either way.
Whatever style they do, sit hearing remixes of these tunes in Breath of the Wild, because the game didn't have as much music. The music it had was fantastic, but because it was ambience, it was going for ambience, so we didn't really get those big pumping tracks as you were exploring Hyrule Field or whatever. But obviously in an action game, you're going to need that constant pumping music. So
oh god, are we going to get a revamped Guardian theme? I'm going to be trembling. I am actually going to be trembling. Okay, that'll be interesting for sure.
You're giving me nightmares already, Kai.
Oh no. Okay. Oh no.
But let's move on to another part of this, which is of course the characters themselves, and we've already touched a little bit about seeing that the champions are back. Of course, we'll see Link and Zelda here, but one thing I want to mention is there will be characters who are older in the story of Breath of the Wild who are younger back here, and we even potentially see in one scene what could be Impa. A young Sheikah.
Yeah, the one where they're kneeling down, right?
Yeah, and of course from the back, she looks very much reminiscent of Pyre, for example. So it could be Impa or
there is a chance that Impa may be a playable character from the Sheikah. That is very likely. She'll just have like a very Sheikah-esque moveset, I suppose.
Yeah, very ninja-like. So.
However, that's not the only one I reckon will have a Sheikah moveset. The other one I wanted to mention actually was Robbie, the researcher that you meet in the main game, because I had a little read about his diaries just to check, and it does mention that he was a proficient fighter back, around the time the Calamity was about. It was said that while him and I think it was him and Pura were trying to get Link back to the Restoration Chamber or something along those lines during the Calamity, Robbie managed to take out a Guardian on his own because he's that proficient with things. So it would really be interesting to see maybe if he's in the game with a moveset of like, I don't know, using like the ancient arrows, ancient blade saw, that kind of thing. That would be really cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. That would be, more variety of characters and different styles. Just because they're all Sheikah doesn't mean they're all going to play the same way. And I do hope that they differentiate that more in this game because, of course, the most recent Warriors game on the Switch, at least in Western countries, was Fire Emblem Warriors, which, whilst fun gameplay, a lot of the characters in that played very much the same. So it's like Smash all over again with the clones, So
yeah.
But for any chance for them to have more variety here, and it already looks like that from how we've seen Zelda use her runes. Of course, Link's got his sword. Rivali's got his arrows.
We've seen how Zelda uses. We've seen her use Stasis, Magnesis, and I believe Cryonis as well. So she's going to be very centered around using these runes.
In the image I'm looking at now, it's Cryonis is around her, so definitely all of them.
And on top of that, Link. I mean, we hear loads in the main game about how he used to be such a proficient sword fighter, and we see that cutscene with him and Zelda on part of Death Mountain, where he's taken out like so many different enemies, and Zelda's like, you need to be careful, even though he's just taken out a horde. And this plays very well into how Warriors works. You know what I mean?
It does. It's almost like the signs were there from the beginning.
Yeah, his sword play makes sense in that way, in some strange way.
Yeah, it's it's all going to be slightly exaggerated as Warriors are, but it doesn't feel like too out of it to feel like it doesn't make sense. It still blends together in a nice, neat way.
The one part of the movesets I am curious about is we see a little snippet of Urbosa using some sort of a Flurry Rush. I'm curious if that's going to be exclusive to her or if everyone's going to have that ability, because it'll be really interesting to see.
That's an interesting point, because it seems like if we go off one of their most recent games was Persona 5 Scramble, which of course hasn't been released in the in the West yet. I'm sorry, Persona fans, but that's a kick in the face. But with that, what they did was they went very much blended, whereas Hyrule Warriors was very much Warriors but with a Zelda coat of paint. Persona Scramble seemed to be going in with a lot of Persona gameplay mechanics. And we could see that here, so maybe they are going to include things like Flurry Rush or potentially, climbing or gliding with Link or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe the Divine Beast powers, because Urbosa's would make complete sense in a Warriors game. I'm not sure about the others. I'm interested to see how Rivali's Gale would work out.
Yeah, I guess maybe just launch enemies up with you or something.
It'd be cool to see regardless, though.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think like Mipha, is healing really a thing in Warriors games? It is, but it's not as important, so it'll be interesting to see how they adapt. She might just have like a really
overpowered buffing and healing ability, who knows?
That would be cool, yeah. I'm not even sure if we've had buffing as a mechanic in Hyrule Warriors.
There you go.
Or the Warriors series. If they do, that's... You just want to bring in all the Xenoblade mechanics, don't you?
Shh, don't call me out.
Oh man, but yeah, that all looks fantastic. But of course, there is one thing in the trailer, they specifically mentioned that they're including, I think it was something like a large variety of characters. And, obviously they're going to big the game up, as they do. But with the core Breath of the Wild cast, even including some Sheikah, I don't think that quite covers that. So, and of course, the past Warriors games have loads of fighters. So I do wonder if we'll get extra characters from maybe other Zelda games as like not in the main story, but as like adventure mode, for example.
Yeah, I mean, look at it this way. We've got the main characters in the game are you've got the 5 champions as well as Zelda. That makes 6. Even if you add in Impa and Robbie, and even Robbie might be a bit of a shot in the dark, that's only 8 characters. So there's a lot of variety to add in, like, you know, some other new ones maybe, or some other Breath of the Wild based characters.
Yeah, definitely, because they could of course go with the modern equivalents of the champions, but they would play very similarly is the problem. It would be a bit hard to differentiate themselves, and of course, like I said, we don't want to get too much like Fire Emblem Warriors where half the characters play the same.
Yeah, I do have a couple of theories as to who the characters might be if you wanted to speculate.
Go for it. Definitely, go for it.
So one of them I had was like, again, this is a very shot in the dark thing, but we may see Pura as a character in some way, just because you know, she can use the camera. I don't know what else she can do past using a camera, but that'd be funny regardless.
I know this isn't likely, but it would be hilarious if she had some sort of Ice Climber style team up with Robbie or something.
That'd be amazing.
I don't
I'd
expect
be so
it, but...
down. And on top of that, I mean, she may actually, if do you remember that little Guardian Egg fella?
Yes,
in
I was going to
poster?
mention that actually. Yeah.
That might be related to Pura's moveset. She might sort of maybe control that to move around or something along those lines, perhaps.
Yeah,
Cool.
that could definitely be possible. I've heard a few theories. Some people think it could be a playable character, which that would be insane but awesome. Or it could be more like the voice for Link, like the fairy from the original Hyrule Warriors, because
There
of
is
course Link
potential
doesn't
for that.
speak.
I'm calling it now, though. It's part of Pura's moveset, or maybe Robbie's. Calling it now. Come back to this if that's the case.
You're showing full confidence here. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another one that would be funny, but I don't think would happen, is also Baby Sidon.
Oh man.
That'd be amazing.
Oh, I hope we at least see him. We have to at least see him. But oh, that would be hilarious.
Yeah, it would be.
But I do wonder if we might get some more traditional characters, like maybe a more traditional Ganondorf from, like maybe the version from Hyrule Warriors, and maybe some characters like Midna or Fi or whatever as legacy characters in a bonus mode as well to flesh out more. But
That
whatever,
would make
whatever
sense,
way it
yeah.
goes, I don't think we'll be seeing anything like that in a big story focus. It would just be an
No.
extra mode because
I do have one final speculation character that's like a big gambit.
Yep.
I don't think it will happen, but on the
There we go.
rare chance it has, like, I just want to make all these really wild calls now, just in case it actually happens. Then you can come back to this and call me a genius.
Of course.
I reckon there's a very, very slim chance we might see the Great Bandit Thief Misko at some point. Now,
Great
that
Bandit Thief.
Yes, that one. Do you not remember?
I
him from the main-
recognise the name. You'll have to give me a jog my memory. It's been
was
a while.
mentioned in quests such as Misko, the Great Bandit Thief, the one that you get in the Dueling Peaks stable.
Does that involve the waterfall?
Yes.
Yes, okay,
And
yeah.
he's mentioned a couple of other times as well, mainly in the DLC story, about how he was a great thief around Necluda and that kind of area. So if we get a Necluda stage or something, who knows? We might get Misko, the bonus character, as a thief.
I mean, that would be awesome, and of course, just to have these more bizarre characters out there. And if we look at Hyrule Warriors, they of course, as well as the legacy characters, they created some of their own with Sia and Lana, and a few others like Volga, who's sort of based on Volvagia from the other Zelda games. But
Wasn't
they
Linkle
definitely-
in that game too?
Linkle, that was in Legends, yeah, the 3DS version, and then the
I was
Switch
going to say,
version.
if we can get Linkle in a Warriors game, then we can get Misko, surely.
Absolutely. So I do wonder if we might see some original characters from them as well to flesh out the roster, and that could
Yeah.
potentially be adapting a character like that into this for themselves. So
It definitely could happen, yeah.
and I guess now let's move on from that and onto the gameplay a little bit more. We've already talked about this a bit with how different characters play, but you say you haven't played the Warriors game before, right? Just to double clarify
Yeah,
that.
I've not
But
played.
you have, but you've seen some. Have you watched any gameplay? And
Yes, I've seen plenty of gameplay of it, yeah.
okay, that's good. So basically, how I'm expecting it, and it seems like it plays pretty much the same as every other Warriors game does, really. Which is you have your standard attacks, and you have sort of stronger attacks, and you can combo those in different levels to create bigger and bigger attacks that do more damage. And And the bigger they get, the flashier they get. I mean, you see things like Zelda putting the Lionel in stasis
That's
and
crazy,
all that sort of
yeah.
stuff. I absolutely love the move where Link like just lobs a bomb.
That looks amazing.
Full on lobs it with his arm. That's amazing. I even one thing that was really cool was, I think it's that same shot or a similar shot where he lobs a bomb at a tower, one of the Bokoblin towers, and it just collapses.
Seems to create an effect. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like the entire tower collapses. And
Perhaps, do you reckon that would be like a climbable thing that you can go up and fight enemies on, or?
Well, that's the thing. I do wonder. One of the main gameplay mechanics of past games is all about fortresses. So the enemy, you have fortresses, and the enemy has fortresses. And as you go across the map, you take out enemies in the fortress, then defeat a sort of mini fortress boss, and you can take it for yourself.
Right, I remember that part. I remember taking out the generals to like claim locations. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about dominance of the map. Of course, the more you have, the more troops you can have with you as well.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if maybe like Bokoblin fortresses act as those forts in the same way, in a sort of way. That could be a good way of handling it.
Would make sense. Yeah, it definitely would make sense.
Yeah, the fact that Link full out just bombs it from a distance and it explodes makes me wonder if maybe you don't like defeat a general in it. Maybe you're just destroying them instead.
Could be a mix. Who knows?
But one thing, you know the pictures I've sent you in the Discord, the pictures that show a bit of the UI. Now, what interestingly,
they look
we look
really
at
good.
for start, yeah, the UI looks really clean. You've got your hearts, you've got your special gauge, which is always a nice feature. Your special moves can get ridiculous. Like I remember in Hyrule Warriors, the first one of Young Link's is full on just like the moon coming down, or something like that.
Amazing.
They're all just ridiculous. So I think they'll be a little bit more tamed down here, but that's going to be fun to see. It looks like they've got different character portraits, so it looks like you'll be able to switch characters on the fly, like in the recent Warriors games, which is really good.
Get some bigger map domination at multiple times. You can have key characters in different areas.
Yeah, definitely. But if we look at the map, we can see they do have squares on them, which I would assume are fortresses, but there's not actually as many of them. Especially if we look at the one of Zora's Domain, and hopefully we'll have these images up for the visual in the YouTube video as well. But if you look at Zora's Domain, there are only like 2 fortresses or 3 fortresses in the bottom bit. So it almost looks like there's quite a lot of little red lines across the map. They almost look like barriers. So
yeah, we'll see how that plays out. It might be like the other camps haven't really showed themselves yet, because you can see one in the kind of top left area almost. It's a blue fortress, is that? I can't really tell.
Yes, that looks like a blue fortress top left. Yeah. We'll
see.
Yeah, and it's interestingly, if you look at the map for the Hyrule Field, you can see that there's a massive open section in the middle.
Yeah, that looks amazing.
That's going to be cool. And of course, a special shout out to a Game Explain video just popped up an hour ago or so in my feed, where they compared images of locations in this to the actual Breath of the Wild, and they have adapted it perfectly to look the way it should do, but of course in the past, so it's all built up and it's all functioning.
That's really nice to see. Yeah, the attention to detail is amazing. I think one little feature that really stands out to me is you can see the yellow objective markers that you'd have as the quest marker in the original game.
Yes,
that's a really neat touch.
That is cool. Yeah, in general, it shows how well they've worked with the development team once again. That they've managed to compile this all together and make it feel like a Warriors game, but also like you're playing Breath of the Wild. So
yeah, the thing that's crazy to me about Zora's Domain one, when looking at it, is based on how the map looks and the gameplay we've seen of it, the very small bit, is it looks like really accurate, like to a T.
Yeah.
With being able to actually go into the domain and explore everything around it. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, and of course now it being an active war zone as well, we see some things like in Gerudo Valley, it's actually more destroyed than it was in the main game because enemies are battling in there at the moment, but of course, seeing in there, you've got, rather than here, you've got, of course, the Hyrulean soldiers fighting with you. We've seen the Zora soldiers and we've seen the Gerudo soldiers as well. So it really is like, it feels like a full-scale war of all the nations fighting together.
Yeah, it's crazy good.
Yeah, it is. I'm just so hyped for it, really. I think we're running a lot of things to say now, but it looks just so good.
I just think the overall UI and the graphics really do sell it. Like we're never huge on graphics, but
No,
this looks phenomenal. It's the accuracy to the main game that really sells it.
It does, and I should also mention on the eShop, it does say 1 to 2 players, so we can assume co-op will be there, the same as the past Hyrule Warriors games, which will be nice.
That would be cool.
That would be cool. Some people have said they wanted online. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but it would be cool.
Yeah, maybe. Has there been Fire Emblem Warriors? Was that on the Switch?
Fire Emblem Warriors was on the Switch, and Hyrule Warriors was ported there, and I don't think either of those had online. But
either way, though, it's cool.
Yeah, it feels like it might, with that many enemies on screen and things happening. They decreased the enemy count for co-op usually, so going online as well you might be like just walking through an empty ghost town. So
fair enough.
But if they can pull it off, that would be cool.
Yeah, for sure. I have like one final thing to just speculate or briefly touch on.
Yeah, go for it.
Is thinking about the stages. I quickly had a search before this to see how many stages were normally in Warriors games, and it's anywhere between like 20, 25, that kind of region. And I was thinking, like, I wonder where we'll get some battles to take place. Of course, there'll be main ones in places like all the different hometowns like Zora's Domain and Gerudo Town and whatnot, because I've already seen those. We'll get ones in Hyrule Field, maybe one in the castle area. But I think there'll be a couple of really interesting ones in there too, such as I think it's the Hateno Field, the Dueling Peak Field, the one.
Yes,
Link
I
falls.
do, yeah.
That might be the final stage, perhaps, if like the one where Link falls is the final stage.
Yeah, I've heard talk about what if you get to play as these characters in their final battle, and it's just to survive, which I haven't done a few other games
until
before.
You run out. Yeah, that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And I do wonder, like some other places, like I don't remember the names. It's been a while since I played, but there's like this really tall fortress at one point.
The Akala Citadel. Oh, that was one of the things I had in my notes. Yeah. That definitely will have something, surely, right?
You got to think, haven't you? Because that could be incredible. That was one of the places when playing it. I was like, I want to see what happens here.
Yeah, that was said to be where the soldiers took their last stand. So it's going to be weird to fit in considering this game's canon, because Link didn't take part in that one. He was already fallen by that point. But as well as I believe most of the champions as well. So maybe that'll be like a bonus thing, but that would be cool. As well as the Akala wetlands, which are just below that as well. So who knows?
Yeah. Just so many possibilities, and I'm just hyped to see what they come up with, no matter what. Just the fact this game exists is amazing. So
it's so cool. It's so cool.
It is. Oh man, and we'll be hearing more on it pretty soon. Of course, it's coming out November. Is it November 19th or 20th? I think
20th. Yeah.
20th. Yeah. So not too long, and we are hearing more news about it on the 26th of September. So only a few weeks. Of course, I'd imagine they might show off some more, go into gameplay in a bit more detail, perhaps, or show us a bit more of like the menus and different modes that might be in the game, hopefully. So I'm excited to see what more they have to show off.
We'll for sure be talking about any new news they bring as well, right, in the next monthly podcast. Yeah, definitely. Next month, we're going to have some stuff to talk about. It's nice having Nintendo news again, isn't it, Kai? It is nice. It is
good. But on that note, have you got anything else you want to say, or are you done?
Not really, just I'm hyped. I'm really hyped.
Yeah. Oh, I guess one thing I should mention as well, pre-order bonus for digital, you get to play with the ladle, so that's awesome.
Oh, that's amazing. Is the pot lid
Ladle's
part of that
OP,
as well, by
I can
the way?
see it. Yep, the pot lid is with it.
Amazing. It's gotta happen.
Oh, that's phenomenal. And maybe we'll see other cosmetics or even maybe costumes for Link based on his other costumes from the game. That could be cool. So they love their unlockables in this game. If you want to go all in and play the bonus modes, you could spend like 1,000 hours in these games usually. So I bet there's a lot of stuff to unlock.
I'm so excited, man. That'll be good.
Yeah, it's going to be good. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. We somehow managed to ramble on for half an hour. We are hyped, very hyped.
Yeah.
But of course, thank you, Kai, for speaking with me about this game.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's been good.
Been good fun, and of course thank you for Australian Sam for once again being our phenomenal logo editor and thumbnail creator, and he's going to be doing the video editing on this one, partly because my laptop's completely died. Also, he's better than me. Let's just be real. His last one was good.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, can't argue there. But yeah, so we'll see you next time for hopefully we'll have a of course regular podcast every month, first Sunday of each month, where we talk about all sorts of Nintendo news, and maybe a few extra discussions like this about all sorts of games Nintendo are coming up with since they're doing it now.
Yeah, keep aware for
it. Definitely. So subscribe, like the video, all that jazz, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.